Welcome back to History of Simple Things. Milk is one of the most ordinary items in our daily lives. It's in our coffee, our cereal, our desserts, and even in the bread we eat. But if you've ever stood in the dairy aisle and noticed labels like pasteurized and unpasteurized or raw, you might have wondered, what's the real difference and why does it matter? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of pasteurized milk versus unpasteurized milk. What those words actually mean, where pasteurization came from, how it changed the world, and why the debate still exists today. Let's get into it, right here, on History of Simple Things. Let's start simple. Pasteurized milk is milk that has been heated to a specific temperature for a specific amount of time to kill harmful bacteria. The process is named after Louis Pasteur, a 19th century scientist who discovered that heating liquids could destroy dangerous microorganisms without drastically changing the product itself. Today, most milk sold in supermarkets is pasteurized. The most common method is called high-temperature short-time (HTST) pasteurization. Milk is heated to about 72 degrees Celsius, 161 degrees Fahrenheit, for at least 15 seconds, then quickly cooled. There's also ultra-high-temperature (UHT) pasteurization, where milk is heated to around 135 degrees Celsius, 275 degrees Fahrenheit, for just a few seconds. This process makes milk shelf-stable, meaning it can sit unopened without refrigeration for months. The main goal? Safety. Pasteurization significantly reduces the risk of foodborne illnesses caused by bacteria like Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria. Unpasteurized milk, often called raw milk, is milk that has not gone through the pasteurization process. It comes straight from the animal, usually cows but sometimes goats or sheep, and is bottled without heat treatment. Supporters of raw milk often describe it as more natural, claiming it contains beneficial enzymes, probiotics, and nutrients that can be reduced by heat. Some also say it tastes richer or fresher compared to pasteurized milk. However, because raw milk hasn't been heated to kill bacteria, it can potentially contain harmful pathogens. Even healthy-looking animals can carry bacteria that contaminate milk during the milking process. To understand why pasteurization became standard, we have to go back to the 1800s. Before refrigeration was widespread, milk spoiled quickly. In crowded cities, milk was often transported long distances under poor sanitary conditions. Contamination was common and milk-borne diseases were a serious public health problem. Children were especially vulnerable. In fact, before pasteurization became common in the early 20th century, contaminated milk was a major cause of infant mortality in many countries. When scientists discovered that heating milk could dramatically reduce disease, pasteurization quickly became one of the most important food safety innovations in modern history. One of the biggest arguments in the raw milk debate is nutrition. It's true that heat can slightly reduce certain vitamins, such as vitamin C and some B vitamins. However, milk isn't a major source of vitamin C to begin with. The core nutrients people drink milk for, calcium, protein, vitamin D, which is often added, and potassium, remain largely intact after pasteurization. Protein structure may change slightly due to heat, but it's still fully digestible and nutritionally valuable. Major health organizations around the world, including the World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, maintain that pasteurized milk provides the same essential nutrition as raw milk without the added risk of harmful bacteria. This is where things get more intense. Raw milk advocates argue that modern farming practices are much cleaner than they were in the past. They believe careful handling and small-scale production can reduce contamination risks. However, even under clean conditions, bacteria can still enter milk from the animal itself. Pathogens are invisible, odorless, and tasteless. You can't tell by looking at milk whether it's safe. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, raw milk is significantly more likely to cause foodborne illness than pasteurized milk. While outbreaks are relatively rare overall, when they do occur, they are disproportionately linked to raw dairy products. For vulnerable groups, pregnant women, children, elderly individuals, and people with weakened immune systems, the risks are especially serious. So what about flavor? Some people swear raw milk tastes better. They describe it as creamier, slightly sweeter, and more complex. Because it isn't homogenized in many cases, the cream naturally rises to the top, creating a richer mouthfeel. Pasteurized milk, especially when homogenized, has a more uniform texture. Homogenization is a separate process that breaks down fat molecules so the cream doesn't separate. Taste differences can also depend on the cow's diet, breed, and freshness. In blind taste tests, many people struggle to consistently distinguish between pasteurized and raw milk, especially when both are fresh. It's amazing to think that something as simple as heating milk for a few seconds helped transform public health around the world. Next time you pour milk into your coffee or cereal, you might see it a little differently, not just as a drink, but as a product shaped by science, culture, and centuries of progress. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.